I love their music. I really do. But like, I can't watch them visually. To me, they're kind of goofy. And then, I don't know, I just feel like they're ripping off Zeppelin a little bit. So, but I love their music that sounds like Zeppelin because it's great stuff. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted on that, but I do like them. So I have their albums and I listen to it all the time, but I don't know. What about you?
I like Greta.
Yeah.
Greta's a good band. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always looking for new music, but I have trouble finding what I like. So, but there is good music out there. You just have to find it.
That's because you're an old crotchety man.
Well, I do have a certain style of music that I like, and it's hard to find new bands that are doing that style of music, admittedly. And I just don't prefer what a lot of artists are doing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not in my wheelhouse for what I like to listen to. So, I mean, Greta is in my wheelhouse. I like to listen to them. Been on a blues kick lately, digging deep and listening to a lot of blues artists. So, but that's not necessarily new music. That's more new to me, but not new to the world.
This is more familiar for Dave. Another Pleasant Valley Sunday.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely in my wheelhouse.
There you go. He's right in there. That wraps up our mailbag segment. And we are on to our interview with Christian Gehring, the actor playing David Lee Roth in the new Motley Crue Netflix biopic, The Dirt. Coming up next, take a listen.
Van Halen's sound, if there is any design to it at all, the sound of Van Halen is meant to spill over all over your turntable and ruin the rest of your records. You know, our stuff is made to have that kind of combustion to it, that sound, and you'll lose that if you continue going over and over and 50 times. You'll get it musically correct, but it's going to lose some of that pizzazz. It's got to have heart to it. You know, if you take a Van Halen record and you stick it in your collection, it'll melt all your other records.
If you would like to send us a letter asking a question or making a statement or whatever you'd like to say, you can send it to ddunchainedpodcast@gmail.com. Pick up the top seller, Van Halen Rising, how a Southern California backyard party band save heavy metal. The new book by Greg Renoff. Learn about the early history of one of America's most decorated rock bands. Renoff goes deep into the Pasadena roots of the Van Halen brothers, David Lee Roth, and Michael Anthony. Go to vanhalenrising.com, where you can get autographed copies of the book, t-shirts, guitar picks, beer koozies, and more. vanhalenrising.com. Also available at amazon.com.
Hola, amigos. This is Billy Sheehan, your bass player. You listen to my good friends Dave and Dave right here on Dave and Dave Unchained.
Hey, folks. I'd like to introduce you to the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast. Welcome to the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast, where no stone is left unturned in the show's epic quest to review and dissect every single rock album ever made. Join self-proclaimed rock authorities Chris Carson and Lee Bowie on their epic journey to uncover the true classics. You can find the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast wherever podcasts can be found, including Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Our website address is classicrockalbumbyalbum.libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. And we can be reached on Facebook at fb.me/Classic Rock Album by Album. See you soon from the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast.
Check out the new podcast, The Rock Quarry, your place to hear in-depth interviews with some of rock's most colorful characters, with your host, entertainment journalist David J. Criblay. The Rock Quarry is available for free on Spreaker and iTunes. You can check us out on Facebook at The Rock Quarry Podcast, on Twitter
at Rock Quarry Pod, on Instagram at The Rock Quarry Podcast, or email us at therockquarrypodcast@gmail.com.
Van Halen handles every aspect of its career, whether it's deciding when we want to go on the road, to what kind of clothes we wear, to working with Teddy on the sound of the album. It's we handle everything, so there's a whole lot of different things besides just singing and dancing to do, and it's very exciting because if you see an advertisement for Van Halen, we were involved in putting that advertisement together, what the picture will be, what it will say, what the advertisement is for, when it got put in the magazine. We get involved in all of that, and that's real creative, man. Just it's all pictures and words and music and movies and stuff. That's great. That's a very exciting biz to be in, And you go on the road, you play a show. Show is what, an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, and it's a couple hours out of 24, man. So you can get involved in all kinds of other things, the photography or the cinema, or it's all involved with the band, but it's all different parts of entertainment, which is very exciting.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are granted with an incredible gift this afternoon. We have Christian Gehring from Dirt Movie. And Christian, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, man. This is awesome.
I appreciate it. Christian, tell us, how did you initially get the part of playing David Lee Roth?
God, that was quite a process, actually. Originally, I auditioned, from L.A. They were doing, I guess they really were struggling to find somebody, and then they held auditions in L.A. where you could self-tape. And at the time, it was weirdly serendipitous. I had, super long hair, and just, I did every research I could do, and went on YouTube and watched every awesome interview that I could of David Lee Roth.
Sure.
And so I submitted it. They basically gave you a monologue, and I submitted it, and I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, well, that's fine. Moving on. And then at the time, I was so sick of my hair that I just chopped it off, and then I was going to go a new direction. And I'm not kidding. A day later, they called, or my agent called and was like, "Hey, they want to set up a Skype interview. They're really interested, and they like what you did." And I was like, "No fucking way."
Oh, gee.
So I was like, "Well, listen, tell them I chopped my hair off." And he was like, "Oh shit, okay. I don't think that'll be a problem, but let me call them." They ended up being pretty upset about that, and I was like, "All right, well, that sucks." And then all of a sudden, the Skype interview fell through, and I was just like, "Okay, this is bad." I screwed up. I lost it. And then 2 months went by, so I just assumed it was done,
Right.
And one of my friends, Rebecca Graff, I noticed on Instagram that she booked the role of Heather Locklear.
Right.
And so I called her up, and I was like, "Hey, congratulations, it's incredible. I actually went out for David Lee Roth, and, it would have been an honor to play him and to be there with you, but I'm so happy for you." And she was like, "Oh, that's so weird. They're just talking about how they can't find him." And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And she was like, "Yeah, they're really struggling to cast that, I guess." That was, word on set.
Right.
And I was, no way. I just, 2 months had gone by. I just assumed, of course, everything was a lock.
Right.
And so then, I called my agent, and I was like, "Is there any way that I can get something else in? I mean, can you talk to them?" And he was like, "I don't know. You can try. It's always worth a shot." And I was like, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do something." So I went online, and there's this, David Lee Roth is the most epic rock star, off the cuff, spontaneous guy ever. And, there's nothing like him. And the best resource ever is YouTube. There are hundreds of interviews. And so I was like, I'm just going to recreate one of these epic interviews that I love so much. And I chose the one, I think it's called David Lee Roth interviewed in his bedroom in 1981.
Right.
And I took that, and, it's him in his bed, and he's just, like, totally ridiculous, like David Lee Roth to the 10th degree with his, like, jokes, and it's incredible. And so I took that, and I sort of did my own spin on it and recreated it, and I submitted it. Didn't hear anything. Like another 2 weeks went by, and then you just move on, and all of a sudden, my agent called me and was like, "How soon can you be in Louisiana?" And that was about it.
That's amazing. So how much did you know about Dave?
Gosh, I really didn't know too much. I loved Van Halen when I was growing up, on road trips and stuff. I remember listening to Panama and Jump, but I really didn't know too much about him personally as a frontman for the band. So diving into that and doing all the research, I was just floored by this legend that is David Lee Roth. I mean, there's nobody like him. And I think in terms of, like, rock stars and frontmen for bands, I don't think it gets better than that. I don't think you could ask for a better frontman. Yeah, so really doing the research and going into his interviews where he's just absurd, and half the time he doesn't make any sense, and then half the time it's like that might be the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. But yeah, that was the most fun for me, was to really sink my teeth into the character and figure out, how do it was scary, because how do you portray David Lee Roth? I mean, he's really one of a kind.
Sure.
So that was the biggest thing that I wanted to get across, was I didn't want to emulate his, I didn't want to copy him, I didn't want to mimic him.
Right.
I just felt like, obviously that would be stale and try hard. So what I really wanted to bring across was his, like, spontaneity and his energy and his, just his aura, I guess.
Excellent. And in terms of what era of Roth are you representing? What year are you seeing?
Yeah, so it's a pretty. I mean, the whole movie is about Motley Crue, and David Lee Roth just kind of steps in as their mentor at one of their parties right when they're just starting to take off.
Okay.
And so it's about 1981, 1982.
Okay.
So that's why I really wanted to, like, figure out who Dave was.
Right.
At that time. He just morphs through the years into this. I mean, he's always the legend that he is, but it is interesting to see how different he is over the decades.
Right, absolutely. And how many different scenes do you have?
Just, it's a small role. I really just have the one. Okay. So it's basically him telling the band that they're in for it. They better, like, wrap their minds around being famous, and their lives are going to change. But it's this whole, party scene, and it was an insanely fun. It was almost surreal to do it, because I'm decked out to the nines, and, like, the gaiters and the leopard skin pants and the giant fur coat and the glasses with the they did this, like, massive 80s $10,000 wig, and I really didn't have to do much. I just stepped onto this set where they rebuilt the original Motley Crue party house.
Oh, wow.
It was seriously like I walked through a time portal.
That's incredible.
And I mean, people on set, I think the best thing I had going for me is I bear a passing resemblance to David Lee Roth. Just, like, face-wise, I mean, like my nose and the kind of the way our faces are, it's very similar. So as soon as they put that wig on me, people who were true Van Halen fans, they saw David Lee Roth, they were just like, whoa, man, like, what? Like, holy shit. And so it's really a testament to the production and the hair and makeup team and the wardrobe. I mean, they went all out. The movie's going to be balls to the wall. I'm really stoked about it.
I can imagine. So now, how long is the scene that you're in?
It's a party scene. I would say it's a 10-minute scene, but it's really just this. The whole movie is intense, and it's starts off with a bang.
Wow. So you're
And
in
it's
the,
rock and roll.
I'm assuming you're in the beginning of the